Boom. Yes! Saatchi, Michael.
How you doing, bro? You all right?
We go again. Welcome to the What Does Your Mum Think podcast, episode 5. 5?
Maybe.
Are we on 5?
I think it's 5.
Oh, lad, we're on a roll. How are you, bro? How's your Sunday morning?
I'm good. I woke up this morning. I couldn't move my left arm.
That's a problem.
I can't think what I've done to it, so I can move it a bit now. But yeah, like there's something going on in my shoulder. But yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. You know, I got a nice. I like putting myself through the paces on a Sunday morning, get myself ready for the week.
Yeah.
So I went for a local run. Nothing like your runs, but I went for a little run, little 7K, something like that. Anyway, came home, had a little stretch. Hey,
I usually do mine Sunday, but I went yesterday, so I feel a bit fresher for this.
I know. I think I was inspired by your hockers stomping down there.
Go on, sorry, I cut you off. Then you had a little stretch.
Little stretch after it, cold little plunge. I struggled warming up from it today. I was sat here eating my breakfast.
You put ice in it?
Yeah, well, what I usually do, I usually fill the top of the freezer drawer. Lewis doesn't even know this, with excess white water as it spills. I use this so it fucking obviously goes cold.
You fill the whole tray up, the whole.
It doesn't. I would do that, but it doesn't let me because it's got holes in, and so it leaks everywhere. So I get about an inch, and I just smash it on the floor. I put that in, and I put some ice packs in there. So give or take, I have little bits. You know what I mean? But yeah, ideally, I'd have big blocks, but it's what you've got in it. But just sit in it for 5 minutes and breathe.
Get out of it. Do you put the hairdryer on you or something to warm yourself back up?
No, I had nothing. I usually just put the heater on in my room, so when I go into my room, it's a bit warmer. Sometimes I'm sweet, but today I just proper couldn't warm up after it. Like my teeth are still chittering a little bit. Anyway,
yeah.
I do find that they help. I try and do like 1 or 2 a week. You know what I mean? It helps the head, innit? Helps the body. I just feel fucked at the minute. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. Right, so today's episode of running our mouths too much. We've got Liam Campbell. So Liam is a senior creative at Grey London. The big boys. He's worked at some good agencies too. Do you know what I mean? He's worked at. I'm going to pull these up. I think it's Lean Mean, Fighting Machine, M&C Saatchi, Saatchi, and obviously he's currently at Grey. So he's been through some of the big boys, and that's where obviously he knows a couple of people that we do throughout.
They are monsters, aren't they? Does he know Danny through?
That's what I was just connecting the dots then. So I think he must know Danny through M&C Saatchi.
Yeah. Yeah, which is Danny we had on in what was that second episode? Was it?
Yeah. So other than advertising, he is. I think he got named like top 25 director. We'll obviously getting to elaborate on this. Straight 8, Super 8 filmmaking. So obviously he makes filmmaking. He makes films, so to say, outside of just doing advertising. And he's also a bit of an artiste, one would say. Do you know what I mean? I love his little art pieces. So we'll speak to him about that too. But he's a cool character. He's been about. So obviously we know him through. You don't know actually. Have you ever met him?
I've never met Liam before, so yeah, I'm excited to speak to him. I want to learn how he makes his sourdough bread.
The sourdough bread. I mean, we can probably start on that. I've known him for a little while now, and I've still not tasted any. I'd love to get a little bit of this. Obviously, you know much about the starter stuff and that when you're making bread.
My dad used to have this proper old-fashioned like bread making machine. So yeah, that's the only experience I've had to bread making. But yeah, I've not made sourdough before. I've made bao buns before, where you have to make this massive pile of dough and then watch it rise.
With sourdough, you have like a little starter thing, don't you? And it lives, and you feed it in that.
Like yeast, like a.
Yeah, I guess it's like a yeast or something. Like it's a living thing, innit? Do you know what I mean? I guess so. Yeah, like living yeast. You keep it in the fridge, and obviously you can give that little bit to other people for them then to start their own starter. I think he's had his for years. You take a little bit of it, and then that's what makes the thing, innit? But I'd love that when I was older, you know. And then who knows, lad? Start making bread, and then we were brand it up, package it up, lad. That's our way out. You know what I mean? Branding in house, and we'll just sell bread, lad, and make some dough. You get me? Stack it up, bro. Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine? It'd be nice to get a little product and be able to have obviously everything really easy at your hands to be able to brand it up and just get it out there. But you obviously just need a killer product in it.
I think we've got some good ideas.
Yeah, let's not run out of mouths, bro. Let's stop it at the bread.
Yeah.
Liam should be joining very shortly, but yeah, enough bread.
Every time someone's about to come on, I start running my mouth and then I get cut off all the time. So I'm like trying to hold myself back today.
Try hard, you know what I'm saying?
Go on, you do it.
What's that?
You do it. You do the talking, and then you get cut off by Liam because I always do it.
What else have we got? What did I watch? What I'm trying to think. I've had a quiet weekend, mate. I've not done nothing this week. Just been working, training, working. I've been to any exhibition. I'm trying to get over to the Saatchi at the minute for that most recent exhibition that they've got on, but it's really hard to find the time, lad.
What's on at the Saatchi? I've not been there for years. It's my favourite space. I love it.
Fucking love it. I remember back in the day when we used to go and it had that room that was filled with like oil.
Yeah. It was cool. It's trippy.
It's that Beyond the Streets, isn't it? That's what it is. Sorry.
Can you pull that up, Lewis? Can we have a little look at that?
The most comprehensive graffiti and street art exhibition to ever open in the UK. Discover original art. Oh shit, you stung me up. Discover original art, right? I can never say that word. Ephemera. Is it ephemera? Ephemera. Photography, site-specific installations, archival fashion and surprises from over 100 artists. That'd be cool.
Oh, Beyond the Street. Yeah. I've seen this. I've seen the ads for it all over London.
There's that late though. I've just noticed there. Looking at it.
I didn't know they did lights. Have you been to Tate lights before?
Yeah, once time ago.
Yeah.
But I think
they have their own branded beer.
Sorry.
I think they have their own branded IPA.
Yeah.
Again, going back to like branding products. Is it free, that exhibition?
I don't think it is it? About 15 quid or so. Used to love our little London Saturdays wandering around, like finding free exhibitions when we were broke.
Well, I'm still doing the same thing now.
I was just going to say, some things never changed. You know what I mean? I just feel like we just don't have the time that we did back in the day to be able to run wild around London.
Yeah.
Looking for exhibitions. But what else has been going on? What's been going on in the design world? Obviously, if you've not checked it already, it'd be good if you could go over to, we've got a new section called Mum's Gossip that'll be happening. We're going to try and do it quite consistently, aren't we? Like weekly on a Wednesday, just for 10, 15-minute segments on whatever's kind of going on in the creative world, say, or design world maybe, or whatever we think is cool enough to kind of like speak about and give our 2 cents on. But Pepsi was good. It was nice getting voted. We got some nice feedback on it.
It was. Did you get some good feedback on it?
I got a few.
It was very loose.
Yeah. I got a few messages. I think people just being nice. Just saying, thingy on the Pepsi review. Well done on the Pepsi review. Rah. But it's good. I think what's obviously, it's hard to nail everything in it. Do you know what I mean? But I think the more we do even these now, we're getting better in it.
Did you read the description that I wrote?
I don't know if I did, you know.
I wrote a message to you personally. It was a disclaimer about how I said design studio instead of Koto, and that it's all on me. Can you see it?
Wait, what's it?
Oh, man, you killed me when you called it something shorts, because I think you were getting confused with YouTube shorts and oh man.
Mum's Gossip's good though. Mum's
Gossip is cool. I was thinking though, should we cut the mum off it? Because you know it's what does your mum think? And if anyone's got any suggestions about what you could call it, we thought about Chinwag or Mother's Meeting or something like that.
Lad, you're a fucking nightmare.
What does
Also,
it say?
Michael mentioned Bolt was designed by Design Studio. This was, in fact, false news. It was actually created by Koto. I thought I would caveat this as Christian thought it would make us both look stupid. I want to take full ownership of my actions here and apologize to anyone I may have offended. Are you happy now, Christian? You probably won't even read this, Christian, but if you do, hi. You're a fucking nightmare, lad.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool.
What were we talking about then a second ago?
Mum's gonna say.
I do think it needs the mum. I think that's the nice connection between what does your mum think. Lewis, where's Leo? Oh, on his way. I do think it needs the mum in it.
But you already know you're on What Does Your Mum Think's channel.
Yeah, but it's like mum's gossip. If not, it could be anyone's gossip.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But then the picture of us two, we obviously don't look like mothers.
The whole point, lad.
Let's not get into that. But yeah, okay, I guess that is the whole point. Anyway, yeah, I thought that segment was cool. It was loose, like I said. I love the comment section part. I think we can make a really big thing of that. Like, I love listening to Derek, More Plates, More Dates, and he does like a nice, but actually he goes on a little bit. See, like, I'm about to get cut off by Liam again. Here we go. Let's just.
Yeah. Liam, what are you telling me?
Well, is you all right?
How you doing, Liam? Lovely to meet you, man.
Likewise, mate. How's it going?
Yeah, really good, really good.
I'm liking the hat.
I'm loving the shirt.
I was just going to say, we're always fresh. Do you know what I mean?
You're like, it's like Sunday, and I was like, oh shit, I'm like business on the top, like on the bottom. I'm saying I've got like clogs on and that. So, but this is one of my favourites, man. Like, it's got like fucking crocodiles shagging on the back.
Oh, lad, it's hard.
Can't go wrong.
I love it. I'll always we usually bump into each other. I've not bumped into you for a while, have I? But on Mile End Station, always wearing something loud, bro.
Back to the edge, mate. Bit of colour never hurt anyone, did it?
I love it. It's sick. But yeah, man. Welcome to the What Does Your Mum Think podcast, Liam. Thank you very much for doing this.
Nice one. Thanks for having me, boys. Happy to be here.
And obviously, Michael, Liam, Michael. So obviously, we know each other through Danny, right? It was Danny. Where did we first? I think it was one of his parties we first met at.
Probably, yeah. I think it was a few years ago, wasn't it? Like, it was probably one of his do's, I think. Yeah, birthday do's or something.
And it was the trainer chat, classic, or something about something you was wearing, definitely, bro.
Sort of like Garm chat, probably.
It would have been, right? So, just to introduce you to people, you're a senior creative at Grey London, and you've been around, obviously, to a few agencies now, which we can get into. You are top 25, one of the top 25 directors for Straight 8, Super 8 filmmaking. On Monday. Not bad at this presentation stuff now, me lad. And also, you're, so to say, an artiste as well, innit? Do you know what I mean? You have a little artistic endeavors, which I love.
Branching out, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so to say, one of Bow's finest bread makers. In it.
I've dropped off recently. I've been a bit lazy. I've not been doing as much. I bought the other day and I was fuming. It was so bad. I was like £6 for a loaf. I was like, I could have done this better. How
long? I was just telling Michael then before you jumped on. How long have you been doing it for? How long have you been making bread for now?
Well, it started as like one of them like classic lockdown things, you know, and you just got like loads of time on your hands. I was like, I need something to do. So I was like, all right, I'll just start making a starter. I think, like, to be honest, I think loads of people did it. I just get obsessed with stuff, mate. and then I'm just like, right, I'm going to do it to the point where I'm like blue in the face and I've like absolutely nailed it. It took me like probably like two years about, I reckon, to get like really good ones, banging out good ones.
Yeah.
Because those first ones are infuriating, man. They come out like pancakes. And I'd be like, I've got a real bad temper on me, like that. Especially when I'm like putting effort into stuff. My missus would be like, "There's no point being annoyed." As like throwing it in the bin, like wanging stuff about, like, do you know what I mean? But yeah, got there in the end. It took me a while, but
what is this starter thing, Liam? Like, Christian's trying to explain it to me that you create this starter.
Yeah.
So like, what is it?
It's basically like, you know, like usually you use yeast to make bread.
Yeah.
So yeast is obviously like manufactured.
Okay.
It's obviously it's a natural thing, so you can create it yourself using just flour and water.
Okay.
And then like gradually, the more you feed it, flour and water, it grows and grows and grows, and then eventually you get like a kind of like a base, you call it, that just you can grow. You can make pizza dough out of it, bread out of it, muff it, whatever you want, basically. But that's your kind of like Kickstarter to get things growing, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't know much about like I guess what is the perfect sourdough finish? I hear people talking about these ears and stuff on top of them. Like you want to get a nice shape on top of it. What's it all about?
It's the story in that, innit?
Technicalities now. Do you know, I've been through so many like razor blades doing this as well. So it's basically like what you got to do is there's like an ear. So as it like rises in the oven, basically you cook it in a pot so that it basically has like steam inside so that it can start to rise. When you take the lid off, what you want to see is like it's sort of like open out like that. So you get that kind of like crispy ear on the top. But yeah, that's another one. Like trying to nail that is pretty hard. Like I tell you what, man, I used to think it was like a lot of money to pay for a loaf of bread, like a $5 or whatever. And it is like, it's not a loaf of Hervis, is it? Do you know what I'm saying? But when you see the amount of effort and you put it in yourself, you're like, actually, yeah, $5 is not that bad. Because it basically takes like 2 days to make. But you've got like, get the starter moving, then start like, doing all the like folds. Yeah, it's pretty long. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, I love it. It's nice. It's nice and meditative, though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I can imagine. I'd love that when I was older, like to wake up on a Sunday morning early with the thing that's been resting for a couple of days, whatever, and everyone smells like dad's bread or something on a Sunday morning. You know what I mean? Stink the whole gaff out. That'd be sick.
I nearly did it during lockdown. I nearly like set up like a little bakery in the flat. Just like locked in. I should have done it.
Yeah, nice. I love that, Liam. All right, sweet as. Right, so today we're going to talk through a few pieces of your work. You kindly sent us a few through, so we kind of ordered it up. We kind of got a rough order in our head. We're going to kind of go through things, but we'll let serendipity kind of flow in here and there.
Yeah.
But what we kind of like tended to do with the past guests is take it right back to the beginning in a way and get into your head about how you end up going into advertising.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus, when did it start? So I didn't do any like A levels, anything like that. I knew I was never going to do any of that stuff. Went straight to design school, did like 2 years of what was a BTEC then.
Oh, yeah.
Did that. Didn't really like smash it. Didn't really love it either. At the time, I was like really into music. I was in bands and stuff. That was like my my main goal, basically. So then after that, I kind of like had a bit of a floaty period of not really knowing whether I was going to do music or whether I was going to do like be, in the arts of some description. And my missus, who I'm getting married to actually in a few months, she basically said to me like, I'm going to go do foundation. Like, why don't you try it? And I was like, all right, I've got not much on. I'll do it. So I did like a year of foundation, absolutely loved it. It went super well. Like I smashed the year, in my opinion.
Nice.
Most importantly, for once in my life, beat her at something. So then that basically like led me on to going to uni. And at the time I was going to go, I thought about, I wanted to go to London. Basically, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I may as well go, straight to the source of what I thought was the source anyway. But went straight to London, basically got into Kingston, got into a few other places, decided to go there. I was like, and then I don't know, the rest is kind of like, it all just flowed from there. Like I got onto graphic design at Kingston, met some like wicked tutors, like people that just sort of like really like opened my eyes to what you can do in the business. Cause like, I'm not a graphic designer now, but that was obviously where I started.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So you never studied advertising, no?
Never, man. No.
Ah, right.
I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't know you could do it as a job. Like I always saw like posters and things in the street, and I kind of always thought, oh yeah, that must be like, that's design, isn't it? Someone designed it or whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously there is that element to it, and there obviously are designers that do that stuff, but the kind of like conceptual part of it, of like coming up with the initial idea, I didn't realize you could do as a job. It's actually like a weird business. Like it's quite like closed in a lot of ways. Like, I don't know if you've spoke to anyone else that's from advertising, but it's like, it's a weird one to get into because if you don't know about it, it's hard to get into.
Yeah.
But then, so doing that, I kind of like got to like through pretty much bungled first year. I thought it was when I got to like London, I was like, I think I thought I was really good. Realized actually like, yeah, I've got to work a lot harder. I was pretty lazy through second year, and then my third year I kind of came into my own a bit. I kind of had like, I just had this sort of realization where I was like, you know, tutors were kind of pushing us to do certain things, or, you know, what about if it was, what's the brand, what's this, like asking questions like that. And I was just always like, I just don't really care about flat graphics, or I just don't really care about like what the brand is or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up doing these, like, I didn't realize it at the time, but kind of ads for like things like the Underground, like creative review set as a, you know, a task or whatever, like do some posters for the, I can't remember what it was now. It's like 50 years of the Underground or 100 years or whatever it was.
Uh-huh.
I did some stuff for that, and I kind of didn't realize at the time, but they were ads.
Yeah.
Like in a way, like I was doing all these like moving graphics where I was like putting the roundel basically into tools and things like that, because at the time they were doing loads of like updates to the network. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I was getting pretty annoyed with it. So I was like, why don't I do my ads about the fact that, you know, bear with us, this is going to take a bit of time. I kind of made all these little tool graphics that look like they were moving. So you kind of, as a like a passenger, you got a sense that actually it is pretty annoying, but things are actually moving, things are happening.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, you just can't see it, the work. But I think the one that like came into sort of like my favorite piece of that time was I made like this fork stool chair.
Oh, we can jump to that. I mean, I was going to finish up with, we got an order to this, but we can, Lewis, just pull that up for us in the background while he talks about this, please, if you don't mind. I didn't know this went that far back. I thought it was...
I mean, so this was literally like 10 years ago. Like I made this like 10 years ago. I say I made it. I came up with the idea, but I had it fabricated. But it was like, what I was trying to say,
always been an advertiser.
But this is the thing when I talk about like, oh, people were saying, oh, what's the brand? What's the this? What's the that?
Yeah.
And I was just a bit like, I'm having these ideas for things that aren't necessarily like ads. They're not like graphics. They're not, you know, what is it? And at the time I had this tutor called Malcolm Kennard, who's like a bit of an absolute, he's a genius, man, in my opinion. He like fully just like opened my eyes to like, you can do things that aren't, you know, they've got like an idea in them.
Yeah.
They're not like a kind of like, oh, this is an ad. This is a, you know, it doesn't have a box. It's just like, it's a thing that expresses like, you know, a situation between two things, like, you know, garden furniture and like a stool. Like what happens if you mash those two things together?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that always like stuck with me. I remember him like he's in this book called Smile in the Mind.
Yeah, cool.
Man. Probably loads of people have been through, but it's like, it's one of those ones where I remember seeing like his bit of work, and it was like it was an egg box, but it wasn't made out of cardboard. It was made out of porcelain.
Shattered everywhere.
And it just smashed like an egg. And I remember just being like, it was a bit of a like moment of like, whoa, yeah, I could do stuff like that. That's, you know, that's up my street.
Yeah, sick. I love that.
Yeah, it was just, that was the kind of, you know, kind of birth of this type of stuff, really, because I think I just wanted to make something that was fun. Like, I think you get into that period of like a third year where you're like, oh my God, I've got to get a job. I'm worrying about like, you know, there's so many things that people get, you know, worried about or concerned about. And I kind of tried to just like block that stuff out and just worry about making something that I felt good about, that I could go around and show people and talk about in a way that I was passionate about. Do you know what I mean? Because I think so many people just started like losing their heads. They'd be like, oh my God, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. What about this award? What about that? This?
Yeah.
And I just kind of like tried to sack all that off and just focus on making something I loved, basically.
Oh yeah, I like it, lad. Where is it now?
It's in my hallway.
Is it? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I've still got it. Yeah, it's in the hallway in the corner. But the funny thing about this was like I had to shoot it like one afternoon and get it, you know, for my portfolio basically, so I could get it printed and submit for my final year. And I was like trying to get hold of this artificial grass from this company, and they were supposed to deliver it on a certain day, and it never arrived. And I was like, oh shit, man, I've got to like get this shot. Like, what am I going to do? So I had like a little model of this, like in the corner. I had this like little section like I loved in my sort of like studio. And I had like a small version that was like a little trowel that I'd made with a little thing on the top. So I basically like dismantled that, went downstairs with a friend of mine, and like basically like dug up like a square of the university lawn. So I had to like basically just casually like trim this lawn without taking too much of the soil underneath. Got like a bin lid, threw it up, rolled it up, threw it on top, took it upstairs, laid it out. It looks like it's on a box. That's actually just like a piece of plywood that's leant up against some polystyrene underneath. And then slapped the turf on top, and that was it.
Yeah, nice. So where do you find the line with this? Are you still kind of pursuing bits like this too now?
For sure. I think it's one of those things when you get into like a job, like that kind of becomes your thing that you focus, a lot of time on. And I mean, I'll probably get into it later, but like advertising is pretty consuming time wise. You're pretty full on with lots of stuff, so it's not very forgiving in terms of allowing much time to do things you want to do. But I think over the last like year or so, I've been trying to like dedicate more time to doing that type of stuff, just because I think it's where, I can't really say too much about it, but I've got a project coming up at the end of the year that's like a big one that's along this sort of line.
Nice.
So it's like, that's pretty exciting. And it's like the first time I've done stuff like that for like a long time, but it's kind of always something that's like just stuck with me. Like I said, ever since having that chat with Malcolm and him sort of talking about these type of ideas, like people like Dan Etok. He was like an amazing designer as well, but like always has these, that I think he designed the Big Brother logo, like the original one. That was like his claim to fame, but he did these other things outside that were like, there's a really funny one where it's basically just like a watermelon with a swimming hat on, which I think is absolutely genius. Just like there's kind of like a little bit of comedy in them, I guess, like a little bit of like humor, a little bit of like, wry smile, wit in it, which I think I quite like.
This is the problem that I'm having, Liam, and I think this is why, like, part of the reason why we made this podcast is that, like you're saying, when you're working at an ad agency or design agency, you're always doing the objective work, and you forget how to think and act subjectively and do art and just do cool shit. And this, like, when we had our tutor on, like, when was it? A couple of episodes ago, a couple of episodes ago, and he's got this artistic approach to it, and everything he does it's got a nice little smile in the mind idea. But
it is.
Portfolio's just full of one of the things was just a bus ticket switched upside down, and it looked like a bus, and it was just little bits of thinking like that, and to have the confidence to just be like, bang, that's in my portfolio.
It
says a lot.
I think there's a few things that I've done along that line. Like there was an idea that like me and my old partner Tom had for like we were working on Royal Mail. It never actually ran, but I just loved it as like an idea. It was like they wanted to promote these like songbird stamps. It wasn't even like a brief. It was just, we just had it. We'd always do these like side things where we'd like try and think of other stuff to try and get stuff made, basically. And it was basically the songbird stamps. We were just looking at that. It's like, I had this like epiphany moment. You're like, oh yeah, of course. Like, so obviously songbirds sing music, and then you kind of get to like, all right, well, musical, they sit on, electrical wires. What do electrical wires look like? The staves of a music score. And then all of a sudden you're like, all right, well, what if we just put the stamps like notes all the way along a music score? And then you're just like, done, isn't it? It's like it's actually really, really hard. I think people like think it's easy to think of those ideas, and it's actually really difficult, because like to get to those points, like the simplest point is actually super hard. And often I think the reason why I like it so much, stuff like that, is because it's actually so obvious. Like it's ridiculously obvious. You're like, how has no one ever done that before? Like, how has no one ever seen that whatever, like your mate did, like flips a bus ticket and it's a bus. Like it's blatantly obvious, but just no one's done it before. And I think that's what, for me, like makes it feel like clever.
It's the ones where you kick yourself. We like,
dude, you took the words out of my mouth, bro. It is, isn't it?
Like, how has no one done that before? It makes no sense. Like,
it is. I think it's effortless. It's making things effortlessly done, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And like, it's looking differently. And I think there's something really beautiful about these projects, Liam. How you go internally. It kind of echoing what Michael said. Then instead of externally, when you're trying to cater towards a client's brief or whatever it may be, and then client feedback and all that kind of stuff. Where when it's this lovely little connection that you've made, and then you can manifest it and bring it to life in your own way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And going internally for the feedback and stepping back from the work and asking yourself if it's really good, and not necessarily, you know what I mean, having anyone else to answer to, can create something really pure. Like, you can imagine the ceramic egg, you know what I mean, box kind of thing. Is at a point where he dropped it all on the floor and it was like, oh shit, I could do this moment. Or
Yeah.
I can't imagine he was sat there in a room filled with people trying to answer.
Exactly. I think that's the thing, actually. Like, I think it's like super important to, like, noticed as we got into the industry, like when I was working with my old partner Tom, like when we got into the industry, like you realize pretty quickly that like it's basically just opinion.
Yeah.
There's no fact. There's like no like book that someone can go to and be like, oh yeah, this logo is crap because of X, Y, and Z. Like, it's not a thing. Like, it's just people have opinions about things, and when you go and show people stuff, like when I was taking my book round with that in, some people would look at it and go, what the fuck is this, man? What are you showing me? And other people would be like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Like, you know, it's not necessarily like a finished ad or whatever, but it's like, I can see where there's like, I can see you've got like a creative mind. Like, you go into places that are not necessarily, you know, just having ads. Because when you go into like getting into advertising, because I did like a couple of years, about a year or so of like placements, design placements at different places and things like that. And I think that was like my initial sort of like this isn't for me moment, because like I completely, I've got loads of friends who are still designers, yourself included, but it's like I just can't do it. I haven't got the patience with the software to do like flat graphics and stuff like that. I just love, you know, coming up with concepts and then working with great people to try and make that happen. Like, I think that's, you know, I quickly realized that it wasn't for me, like design, for that reason. And then, but when you see books that people do in like advertising, getting into it, it was all like, at the time, it was all just like scamps of drawings, so just black and white drawings. So like going around, we had a bit of a different book. Like we designed it up like it was printed, like we did it in like a box, whereas like not many people I think were doing that at the time. So it was kind of like coming from, I think it's been beneficial coming from like a design sort of background and then applying that to like, you know, to advertising, because I think they're so inherently linked anyway.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's weird how like, you know, switching from one to the other was interesting. But
I find this though with projects that I'm sure you do too, Christian. Like, you can come up with a great idea, and then you're 2 weeks into it, and you're like, okay, I've got the idea. Like, I wish I could just fucking throw this off to somebody else to carry on.
Yeah.
I've been all the big important bits now. Like, go on, somebody else. Like, because we love creating ideas. Like, again, that book that you referenced before, Smile in the Mind, is like, it's the Holy Grail. It's the Bible. Do you know what I mean? It's all about those big ideas. And it is, like, I can understand as well, like, why you took that route to go into advertising and sort of detach yourself from design. Yeah. How beneficial those skills must be, because aesthetically you probably know how to approach things so much faster than other advertisers.
Well, I think like part of the reason, like I sort of, to go back to your question before, like part of the reason I got into it, like I said, I didn't really know about it. I kind of like, I loved the posters that would do things like those Smile in the Mind sort of ideas.
Yeah,
it'd be like connections between visual things or whatever. Like, you know, that for me was like part of the reason why I got into it, because I was just like, love that type of stuff, like that type of like visual thinking. But I think it's weird, because I just like progressively got into the business. Like, you have to learn to write as well, and I'm not naturally like, I wasn't naturally like a writer. I'm like really dyslexic, so it's like writing was a bit of a like, oh shit, I don't really know what I'm doing sort of thing. And when we first started getting into the industry, it was like, which one of you is the writer, which one of you is the art director? And I suppose like technically we were both art directors, because like we didn't really have any like experience writing. But I think like I built that up in my head a bit, to the point where it was like, oh, you've got to be like a really good writer, you've got to be this, that, and the other. And actually, you don't at all. Like, at the end of the day, like, it's advertising. You're not writing a book. Do you know what I mean? You're writing like a tagline or like a script for something. Now, like getting into scripts and stuff is obviously like a completely different ballgame. But I found that, like, for me, that was actually quite like easy to write because you're basically writing like you talk.
Yeah.
Like you're writing dialogue, or you're writing like very short, like pithy moments, because you've got to get quite a lot into a short space of time. So it's been interesting, like slightly, you know, dealing with both sides of like the writing side of it and the kind of art direction side. I think I like naturally lean towards the art direction, but it's like been interesting to go the other way, you know, and like learn the craft of like writing a really good script, for instance. Because I think like I always used to think, oh, it must be, you know, there's so much like when you write in a script, you're thinking visually anyway. Like you're not like, it's not like you just completely void of like what this is going to look like. You kind of have like an idea in your mind of, oh, it's this scene, you know, this is what it looks like, you know, this is what the actors are like, or you know, whatever it is. So it has been really interesting to like push that side of it, and I think I've got a lot better over the last like 9 years or so at just like writing, really, and I really enjoy it now. Actually, like
in advertising, you come in, you work in groups, don't you? So
you do, yeah. I mean, I work on my own now, but it's like you often. I think the thing that I really like about it is that you are right. Like you work in a group. You never work in. You see a project from beginning to end, but along that journey, there's like photographers, directors. You know, you name it. There's people, other creative directors.
yeah,
There's lots of people in the process that help things get made. Because often like writing an idea on paper to it being finished, like it can look quite different, because when you take a script to a director or whatever, they might have a spin on something that you've missed. Like they might be like, oh, that scene's really funny, but what if we did this with it? You know, like, you know, what if we put that scene in, you know, outer space? Like, I don't know. They always bring like a different twist to things, which I think is like what I personally look for. Like when we get like treatments from a director where you send them your script and they come back with a document that's like, you know, visual approach to like, you know, that's when I start getting into like the art director mode of like, oh yeah, like now, you know, you can see the like way it looks visually, like the style of it, the tone of what things do, how the camera work moves, you know, accentuate stuff, things like that. I think, yeah, that bit's like super interesting for me.
So you've had partners, creative partners throughout, but like you said, then so you're just on your own. So talk about that transition there before we get into the work. Like, do you prefer it being, obviously you're on your own now, so I can imagine you potentially prefer it on your own, but
yeah,
what kind of balances between the both?
So it's a bit of a weird one, really, because like I was working with my partner Tom for probably like 8 years. So we were like pretty tight knit, and you know, like there was no bad blood or we never fell out. You know, life goes different ways. I think that's the thing with like creative partners. Like you kind of you're wedded to each other in a weird way. It's like having another girlfriend or something. It's weird.
Yeah, that's what Danny said.
Yeah, it's a very strange thing, and it's like and getting that balance right of like finding someone you can work really well with is hard. And me and Tom had been together, like working at uni together and stuff, because we'd always worked in groups and things like that. And me and Tom have always got on. We're very different, like personality wise, and I think that's why it worked.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, but obviously, starting in the industry, I worked on my own originally, like because when we finished uni, like you were just an individual doing different things, and I was lucky enough I won like a d&ad award, and that's how I got to Mother to go and do my first placement, like the advertising agency Mother. And I remember working on my own then and shitting my pants because I didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing. I was like going to meetings like with like sketchbooks when everyone else had scamps and like fully written scripts.
It's a lovely place to be, though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I look like a right muppet, but I probably bungled that opportunity, to be honest with you. But now it's like gone full circle a bit, and I'm kind of back at that point. And it's kind of weird because like you do, it's slightly daunting when you first start working on your own because you're so used to having someone else to sort of bounce things off or whatever and talk things through or moan about a situation when a job's not going right.
Yeah.
So it's been different, but I have enjoyed it because it's kind of like just made me realize like how far I've come like creatively, like in terms of like being able to manage a project on my own, you know, working on multiple jobs at a time, like it can be stressful, because like the other week I was like doing a job on one brand, and like literally like Soho Square, there's like a sound studio called 750 on one side and an edit suite called 103 on the other, and I was literally having to go do sound at 750, like walk across the street, go and edit an ad at 103, and then like walk back and cross like the square like all day. So that was pretty, and trying to write on an ad at the same time, which was pretty tricky. But do you know what? It's been an eye-opening experience, and it's been a lot of fun in a way as well, because I've been quite lucky in the fact that like where I'm at now at Grey, there's been a new like ECD come in.
Yeah, nice.
Dave Wigglesworth, and he's like kind of given me like a bit of a, it's kind of like brought back a bit of passion I think I'd lost for it a bit. Because I think you get into, like, I think with any business, like you get into it, you've been in it a little while, and you start to see like you get a bit cynical, or like you get a bit sort of like, oh, you know, this isn't going well, oh, you know, that's going to be crap. You kind of preempt stuff because you think you know what's going on. And I think I was getting to the point where I was a bit like, I'm not really enjoying this anymore. Like, this is getting a bit annoying now. Not much stuff was getting made. I mean, bearing in mind there'd been like a 2-year pandemic as well. So obviously there was, you know, not much budgets and things were different. So, but I think it's been really good for that reason, because I basically learned how to manage stuff on my own in a different way, like how to generate ideas in a different way. And I think as well, like just like sticking to my guns a bit more now.
Yeah.
I think like, because you can kind of get into, especially in our business, because it's quite tricky sometimes to get stuff made.
Yeah.
You can like get into a bit of a pattern of like just trying to get stuff made rather than trying to make something that you think is really good. And it's like, for me, I'm trying to get into like a situation now where it's like the things that I write are the things that I want to make, and I'm not going to show stuff that I don't want to make, basically, because I'm not going to do myself any favors. I'm going to hate it. It's going to be pretty rubbish. You know, there's always going to be jobs that are like not the best. Like, that's just life, I suppose. Like, you're not going to, not everything you make is going to be incredible, but I think now that's the goal. Like, the goal is to try and make funny ads that I think are good, because I think I'm not a massive fan of like kind of stuff that takes itself too seriously. I think I prefer things that are humorous, like not necessarily like laugh out loud.
Oh, I hate it. Yeah, it's witty.
You know,
I mean,
stuff that's just witty, or which is kind of going back to that stool thing. Really, it's like there's a bit of wit in it. For me, is like a sweet spot.
Yeah, I think that's that element of wit too is what creates that emotional connection. What then becomes memorable, whether it be an ad, whether it be a logo, whether it be the fucking stool, right?
Yeah.
That connection when people. Like, I keep saying this fucking example, but the corporate fucking. I need a better example. The FedEx arrow in it, like when you realise the arrow's in there.
I think it was you that told me that. I'd never even noticed that. I think you were like, "Oh, yeah, there's an arrow in it." Like,
but regardless of that, or the fucking bear in the Toblerone fucking mountain, or whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These little, maybe sometimes it's not hidden, or Bolt's most recent one, say with the fucking with the lightning bolt. But that moment there, it's like for a second, it's almost like you're in on the joke. Not that it's a joke, but you're in on the joke. Everyone gets it. And I think that moment where you're like, that smile in the mind, that's everything, lad. It's sick. And
The most literal one that gets me is Amazon's logo. It does look quite corporate.
Yeah.
It is that idea of A to Z, which is nice. Yeah. But it's seeing that smiling box everywhere. And when you see it like turned upside down and then it's frowning and people have placed it in different places.
Yeah.
I think it just adds a little bit of humor to the brand, but still feels quite
emotional,
corporate and serious.
It does, yeah. And I think that one's a good example actually, because it's pretty like as a sort of like box, it's pretty bland, isn't it? It's just a round box, but somehow that little gives it a bit of like humor and a bit of wit, doesn't it? Let's see, it's like
really when they're all stacked up. I remember the visuals that I think TD pulled together where they're all stacked up, and obviously it replicates the fucking exactly the box exactly in front of someone's face, and it's them simple little things, them simple observations. What you need to keep reducing to get to a solution like that.
Well, I think it's like,
I mean,
even in the case of like, not necessarily like a visual thing, I think like one of the crucial things that you got to try and find like for a good script or like whatever, in my opinion anyway, is like a good insight.
yeah,
Like a good like thing that's, you know, it's a bit like finding the humor and the smile in the mind moment, but in a more like human sense. Like what's the like the cultural thing that people do on a Saturday that relates to football, or like you know, whatever that thing is, what is the like,
I thought this is what Heinz just did really well recently.
cheese.
I don't
Okay,
think I've seen it. Which one is it?
Lewis, can we pull that up?
yeah, yeah.
It was like the fraud. It was like fraud Heinz.
Oh right.
It was people. It was pictures of people pouring like other tomato ketchups.
Oh, I have seen it. Yeah.
And it.
And
You
it's
can
still
imagine how many overheads are in there going, but it's not Heinz ketchup. It's not Heinz ketchup. We can't do that. Do you know what I mean? But it got through.
Yeah.
And everyone can relate to it. And that was made in Canada. And I was thinking, I didn't even know this was like an international thing. I thought it was a really British thing that we all just stand behind Heinz. But obviously, no, it's a big international thing. And it's, it just connects with you on a human level. And all it is just a bit of type and a nice bit of photography.
It's so true as well. I think that's what I mean. Is like, again, that to me is like a smile in the mind moment.
Yeah.
It's like, you know that moment. Everyone knows it. When you've been in a calf and you've like poured the thing out and you're like,
it's fucking vinegary as fuck. This ain't Tommy. This ain't Heinz.
or some shit like that. But no, that is a blinding ad. I mean, that's the kind of thing where it's like so simple, like really well shot. Like even the way that they've shot it is great because they've done it, like art directed it in a way where it looks like you're
the consumer's eyes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Super clever. Like
that line's awesome. Even when it's even when it isn't Heinz, it has to be Heinz. That's really nice.
It is really good. That I love it. Bit jealous of that. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, they're the ones, right? With that said, let's pull up some of your work. Right, so we'll start on first. Let's pull up the FCA. If you don't mind with this. We got all the. I remember Danny telling me about this. That you were playing with it and that. So before we get into it, tell us the original brief. I know you ended up, you know what I mean, coming up with this crazy one.
So like the original, this was like basically the back end of a campaign. It had run like I think 2 times before. Like I'd seen 2 friends like work. They'd basically worked on it for a bit. And it came to the kind of end of, you know, remember all them like really annoying like PPI calls and people would be like telling you up, like, have you got PPI? It was just like a super corporate, really boring kind of, it got to the point where no one was paying attention anymore, even though it could actually get them money back, like quite a considerable amount of money back on loans and things like that. So the kind of brief to us was like, okay, it's the end now. The deadline is approaching for this PPI business. You need to find a way to basically tell people that this is coming to an end and they're basically not going to be able to get any money back after this point. So like we had like a couple of ideas, bunch of different ideas like knocking around, but this one stuck. And it was just this idea of like, what if we basically crush him over a period of time? Because he'd been like the mascot, basically, to give a bit of background. He'd been like the mascot for this FCA PPI brand, like shouting at people, telling people to do it now. Come on, do it. Like, thing. So yeah, basically the concept was right, which was kind of interesting actually as well, because originally they were like, right, let's make one TV ad that we run over, I can't remember how long it was, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever. And we went back with the idea of like, okay, well, because this is like crushing him, like, why don't we do it progressively? So like, we'll do different TV ads of him like in this moment of being crushed, and we'll keep cutting back to him. So like gradually over the 12 weeks or whatever, he becomes more and more and more squashed as the deadline gets closer and closer and closer. And obviously like it was a ton of fun because like we had like a great director, this guy called Ninian Doff. He'd done this like amazing music video for like Chemical Brothers with like this dog driving a spaceship, and we were just like sold. Like he's got an amazing, he's done some wicked films as well now. But yeah, he brought this to life. This is actually filmed in a a waste disposal place, like a sewage plant. But yeah, we had this like huge like this kind of like hydraulic press, a bit like that. It basically, you know, that channel where it's like, will it squash or whatever, and it's just like a hydraulic press just crushing jelly beans or whatever. It's kind of like the inspiration, really. It's, you know, just crush the crap out of him and hope for the best.
Let's so are these the progressive ones as we go? So play this one, Lewis. Sound. Hit me with some sound, broski.
So this one, I think this one's the first one.
It's the big PPI finale.
Nice.
Okay, the PPI deadline is pressing. I'm in a giant press. Very clever, guys. Right, serious acting time. Come on, take action before it's too late. Do it now.
Is it stop motion or you've done it?
No, so he is an animatronic head. So like that literally like that whole thing is basically like on a remote control. Like you can move his like cheeks, you can move his like, you know, his lips and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like, if you go to try the singing one, that one's probably my favorite. So if you go down, so this was like middle of the road. He basically started like just losing his mind because he was getting crushed.
It's just a little crush. No, not like I know. Every time we touch.
But it was like, yeah, we basically just had a load of fun writing some daft scripts about him getting crushed, and that tune came to mind, like Just a Little Crush, and we were like, yeah, sod it, let's just have him sing Just a Little Crush as he's getting absolutely like,
How does it work with licensing with stuff like that? 'Cause obviously, I'm guessing that's an actor's voice, right?
So yeah, that is an actor's voice. I mean, so basically there's a guy, I think he was in America, and he's like, you know, a really great, you know, kind of voice impersonator. But yeah, I mean, I think like originally, I think he got Arnie got like a staggering amount of money. Like it was like 2 mil or something crazy, like to use his likeness for the ads for basically like 3 campaigns.
Did he?
Wow.
So there was like a weird clause where like in his contract or something, because it's his likeness, we had to like write the script and then like submit it to like his people or whatever. And if we got like a reply, or rather if we didn't get a reply by a certain date, like we could basically just do what we wanted. Like, so we were lucky with this. He never came back and said, no, you can't crush my face. Like, otherwise would have been screwed.
Just on this topic, I've been hearing a few words around the way that AI is going, that it could open up opportunities for someone like Morgan Freeman to recreate his voice and spiel it in whatever way you want, to say whatever you want. That way you could create massive amounts of revenue without actually having to do anything. Like you're saying, you just need Arnie to sign it off and say, yeah, cool, you can use my likeness. Here's £10 million. Morgan Freeman's voice could be in 100 different places, created by loads of different people without anybody actually needing to record him, be there, use him. They could just take all the sound clips that they've already heard of him and probably recreate his voice, regenerate it, and put it out there. So there's a potential like revenue stream of, you know, creating these almost like deep fakes.
Yeah, it'll end up being a bit like, because like at the moment the way it works with using people in adverts or whatever, like you basically pay usage on their like or whatever, or their voice if they're VOing. But I mean, I feel like the AI thing is going to be weird, man. I feel like it's going to kind of it's going to open a can of worms. I kind of hope, like it's a different topic entirely, but I kind of hope that it takes the role of doing the shit jobs that you don't want to do, like writing post copy for like some crappy social ad that you don't want to make, and then he leaves us to like do the stuff that's like the TV stuff.
That's fucking, I hear you. That's working smart and not hard. That I like it.
That would be the dream.
We unpacked it a little bit on our tutors episode. We had a little play with it at the end. Not ChatGPT. We went on, which one did we go on, Michael?
We did it was like an image generator. It was Mid-Journey.
I've had some real good fun with that. Like just sticking like stupid stuff in there, you get some amazing stuff. Like
100%.
Chicken in a bath.
Exactly, but you're not going to get there if like, you know what I mean. I'd like to think I've got a creative head, and obviously you two have too. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of it comes down to the user in it.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you haven't got the kind of creative spark in the first place to like get it to generate something interesting, I don't think it'll do it. Basically.
I've seen loads this week about like I seen the Pope one was sick in that big puffer jacket. Did you see that?
Yeah, man. The best one I saw actually this week was led by donkeys.
Yeah.
Political sort of artist. He'd done all these ones where he had like proper Tories.
Yes, I have seen
Boris scrubbing the floors and all that. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Pull them up, Lewis. Can you find them? Have you got a link where we'll be able to find them?
They were on Instagram. They were he posted them the other day. I think it was like Wednesday or something.
What's the account called again?
Led by donkeys, I think.
Lewis, can you just see if you can find that on Instagram for us really quickly, please?
I think they're so like poignant as well, like Suella Braverman, like on a refugee sort of like boat carrying a child.
Yeah.
Like trying to deport everyone to Rwanda that come over here trying to find, a safe haven. It's like pretty hard hitting stuff. Like there's like Rishi Sunak as like a Deliveroo driver.
Yeah.
Matt Hancock's pushing the trolleys at Asda. Like, they're pretty. In fact, going back to the Amazon boxes, I'm just looking at it now. What's his face? Michael Gove is like packing boxes in Amazon. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's so accessible for everyone to start creating these images.
Where they at, lad? You're killing me.
It's Wankers of the World is the person that did it. I got it wrong.
There they are.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Sorry to cut you off there, Michael.
No, you're good.
Go through. God, it is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, they're like
they're insane.
They're brilliant images, man. Like they're actually like
it's like they feel like really lit. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're crazy. Like there he is doing his Amazon packing. It's good.
Bizarre.
Can't stand that guy. Reese Mogg brushing the streets. I love that. Pouring a beer. Yeah, it's good. It's like I love stuff like that. That's like a really clever like use of it because obviously you'd never get them to be in those positions or be able to recreate them without it, would you really?
Yeah, I'm excited to see it, and I'm excited how people keep using it and keep progressing with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is just the start of it now. What is it going to be like in like 2-3 years? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it's like madness. All right, let's pull it back. Pull it.
Actually, it ties back in quite nicely because we're going to jump to the NHS now.
Oh yeah.
Very nicely.
I mean, it's really nice. Before you set this up perfectly, Liam, because you started talking about the art direction. I think and you were talking about posters, and I was like, "Oh, we should."
I was trying to figure.
So talk us through these.
So this was like another campaign at the same agency actually, which we did the FCA one with Arnie. And I think like this kind of like, just to give a bit of background, like I think what I was going to say actually about the Arnie one as well is like we had a like really good relationship with the client. Like we would like see it. We weren't like one step removed. There wasn't like an account manager there always like dealing with. We'd be speaking with them like a lot. And in the case of like Arnie, we'd be doing like reading scripts to them and all the rest of it. Me doing my best Arnold Schwarzenegger in voice and whatever. But these guys were the same. Like the NHS were like an amazing client. Like you'd think because they're like a government sort of organization that they'd be a bit tricky at times, or like have like quite fastidious about rules.
Yeah, should be blue and white. These like what's going on?
Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the thing. Normally, like a pharmacy poster is like a geezer in a white coat or a woman in a white coat, just like shaking someone's hand, going, like that's usually what it is. So like to take it to this place was pretty wild for them. But the brief was basically to kind of like, there was a period before the pandemic where basically doctors were being like inundated with people going in with colds, and it was like backing up people that actually needed to see doctors when they could have just gone to the pharmacist and got some you know, cold and flu tablets or whatever. They could have got the simple medical advice for a cold at a pharmacist. So they were trying to redirect people to go to pharmacy for like menial things like a sore throat or an itchy eye or whatever you could get something simple over the counter for. And yeah, that was the kind of brief. So it was like, right, how do we get people to do that? There's actually like a TV ad that goes with this as well, which it was a bit of a weird way of working because we actually wrote the TV ad. We had this kind of idea about like, you know, when people, there's like a trope in movies where people are like, oh my God, I need a doctor, where something happens and like in comes the doctor that's like sitting 2 tables away or whatever. But we were like, well, what if we just switched that to like, oh my God, I need a pharmacist. Like, and it's, you know, but use the same thing, but the problems that they're having are like menial.
Yeah.
That's where the like comedy would lie. So we basically like shot a TV ad. We were all happy with that. And we were getting to the point where we'd had this like print idea on the table, if I remember rightly, and we just weren't really loving it. We just thought it was a bit average. And anyway, so we basically went back to the drawing board. We were like, oh yeah, hold on a minute. We've just used like a, you know, like a film trope for this TV spot. Like, why don't we just use the same thing, but like you take, you know, film posters and turn them into dramatic, you know, turn like ordinary things into dramatic film posters, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, so that's where this came about. And then there's kind of like Night of the Itchy Eye. We'd like even gone into the detail of like putting all these little like produced by, you know, like allergies and things like that in the little, you know, copy where you usually see. So yeah, produced by a virus or bacteria starring swollen neck. Like, so it's basically just like went to town, like having fun writing these things and stuff. And we worked with this guy called Doley, who's like a kind of, you know, like there's those kind of film poster artists, like a lot on Instagram and things like that they kind of do alternative posters for things. Got him involved. Yeah, man, he smashed it. So it was like we sent like a couple of scamps over of what we thought we might do. We come back and, you know, we just had a lot of fun with these, man. Like, you know, there's not many times you get to do like a giant ear being attacked by, you know, like lightning bolts or whatever, and an eye dripping on a poster. I remember when they came out, like, I mean, they were like pretty impactful. Like, I remember just seeing it in the street and being like, shit, man, that looks pretty good. And I actually like, I went back to my parents like a little while ago and I was like, there's a doctor's surgery near their house. And I was like walking down the road and I was like, oh shit, I just spotted it through the window.
Oh, nice.
Like, there's like all these other posters of like, you know, blue and white stuff. Yeah, like loads of like writing. It's just, and then just straight out the middle was the eye. And I was like, I sent it to my mate actually, like that we made it with. And he was like, oh yeah, God, they're still running. So this was like 4 or 5 years ago. But they're actually running again now. Like, they've rerun the campaign. It's just a good job it didn't come out during the pandemic. Because I don't think they'd have done that well. But luckily it was just before.
Oh yeah, they're great. I love the execution of them. They're very visually impactful, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? My probably the middle one, that kind of like nostalgia of like a 80s or 90s horror film poster.
Yeah.
You know, like,
we tried to give each one like a kind of genre.
Yeah.
Like sci-fi or whatever, or like Indiana Jones type thing.
I feel like the next place you'd take these would be to add your humor to it is because the NHS is absolutely fucking useless. You could go in there with cancer or with your arm chopped off and they'd still tell you to go to a fucking chemist or pharmacy anyway. Do you know what I mean? So
exactly, yeah. Just go take it to another place.
Yeah, they're great, lad. Yeah, nice. And then so these came after a video campaign too, yeah?
Yeah, can we see the videos below in there?
It ran alongside it, yeah. So it was like, there was like a...
Oh, right. Yeah, great. Play this for us, Lewis.
TV spot as well.
Is there a pharmacist in the house? Friday George, he needs a pharmacist!
That's right.
I haven't seen this for ages.
Take the drama out of minor illnesses. For expert advice, consult your pharmacist.
Oh yeah, great. That's a nice
great.
build. Yeah,
That's
so
really
really nice.
Nice director on that as well, like Will Clark. He's like does lots of stuff with like E4 and Channel 4 and stuff. He was a lot of fun to work with.
I love how the TVC itself is still quite. It feels quite clean in NHS. Like it's still it's still within that world, but then the posters like add to the story of it. So you watch that, and then you go to the underground. You get on the tube and you see that poster, and you feel like you're living in that TV commercial.
Yeah, it's nice. Like sometimes I think you get you're forced to do what they call like matching luggage. So like, you know, having something that is from a TV spot in a poster, and like they were brave enough here to like take the direction of what if we did something slightly different. And in fairness to them, like they were great. Like they fully took it on board. Like bearing in mind this, I think when we actually went back with this idea rather, we were supposed to have already like finished the poster campaign or something. So they were fully like on board, which was great. I think they just trusted the fact that we felt that this would be more impactful, and it was. So
yeah, nice. I like what I do like about them as well. They're like really illustrated and not
you
know what I mean. Don't get it twisted. I love everything graphic and I love everything really, you know what I mean, clean and It's not to say these not, but they feel like they carry more of a narrative. Do you know what I mean? They feel a bit more immersed, don't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Like them. So obviously, you being on films, you like filmmaking, right? And you've created and directed a few films.
Yeah.
So with that said, let's talk about Wondering.
Before we dive into it, do you mind if I go for a piss?
Matt,
I'm so sorry. I'm dying here.
Piss, bro.
I know you just queued that up so nicely, and I'm like, whoa.
What do you mean? Do your thing, lad.
All right, give me 2 minutes.
Are we going to chop this, or are we just going to carry on as we was when you come back?
It's up to you guys.
Go on. So take us through this Wandering and how this came about. Lewis, if you don't mind pulling it up while he introduces it, please.
So yeah, I mean, like kind of working in advertising and stuff like that, you do a lot of like working with directors and being on film sets and stuff. And I think as like I've progressed doing the job, like that's actually become one of the things that I enjoy like the most, is like being on a set. I think it's like it's partly because it's like super rewarding because you've seen something that you've written down on a piece of paper like coming to life. But I just like the energy of like, you know, being involved in something happening in that moment. There's like all the meetings are done, all the like pre-production things are done, like there's none of that left. All you got to do now is like shoot it and try and make it look as good as possible. And I think like naturally kind of felt like doing some stuff outside of the job in that sort of area. So this was actually like me and my old partner Tom, we directed a video for the same artist about 2 years before with a mate of ours, Gareth Williams, who was like a producer at our old agency, M&C Saatchi. And we loved doing that. It was a proper in-depth like video, like it was a lot to shoot and on a very, very, very small budget. But when we were doing that kind of concept for that, we'd had like he'd sent a few different tracks over, like my mate Kelvin, the guy who writes the songs, is called Sporadical Jacks, and he'd sent a few of the tracks over. We were like going through them. He was like, I'm not really sure which one I want to make something for. So we'd actually had the idea for this like in the sort of like bottom drawer for probably like 2 years, and then it just came up that like there was a Super 8 competition happening. So we were like, oh, sod it, man, let's just give it a go. Let's just shoot that idea, like, you know, because Super 8 is notoriously tricky because there's no editing. Like you've literally got one roll of film. You've no idea whether it's even worked until you've like basically submitted it and had it, you know, developed. Yes. But yeah, this was just one of those things. But we'd had this idea for a while. We're like, yeah, let's do it. So we basically roped my best mate Jake into being our like model, our kind of, it's all based around the Thinker. So like Rodin's Thinker, he's like sat on the thing like that, and because the track's called Wondering, it just seemed to sort of like fit together quite nicely. So as I said, because there's no editing, we had to basically go around London like shooting these different spots. Like normally you would have done it in a chronological order from like A to B, going from North to South London or whatever. But because we wanted them in a certain order and you can't edit, you had to keep like going back, forward, up, down, like all across London, like to try and get these shots in the right order. So yeah, luckily it came out, and it's done pretty well. Like it's been like Hackney Picture House, like at the cinema. It's been at like the BFI. It's been on Portuguese TV. Yeah, it's weird because that kind of I would advise anyone that's into like making films or whatever to go and check out like the Straight 8 films, because they're really, really good. It's like super easy to get into. You buy yourself a cartridge. Luckily, a friend of mine, Florence, had a Super 8 camera to hand that worked, and yeah, it came out. So,
oh, sick. Go on, Lewis, hit play on us. We're not gonna. There's no things we'll get told off for playing this because you own it, right?
No, we won't get told off. A friend of mine owns the rights, so he'll be cool with it.
Yeah, go on, lovely. Hit us, Lewis. The aesthetic that comes from it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a special kind of thing, man. It's pretty unique.
Yeah, it's nice that you've got, you know what I mean, you've got that concept, simple, lovely, and then just run it through in it.
I think again, it is a bit of a. It's weird now you say it, but it is a sort of smile in the mind moment again, really. Like just having something simple and just rolling with it.
Yeah. Did you? Was there any situations when filming, like that you were shitting yourself because of one take? When it's like, fuck, if we, you know what I mean? Like if it.
That was the hardest thing actually. Is like because you've only got like one crack at it. So like this one, for instance, like that is like.
You can imagine him getting a bit rocky.
Well, he's like sat on a brick or something, and it's like underneath is literally like where all the mud larkers go and find stuff at the side of the tent. So it's literally filthy. So it was like just trying to precariously like poke on top of there. It's like this one was pretty tricky as well because you've got to like, you know, obviously pull focus while, you know, keeping the camera rolling.
Yeah.
It's just a unique thing because I'm so, you know, you get so used to doing 15, 20 takes of one thing, and you just don't have that luxury. You have to shoot it as it is. You get one go and that's it.
Yeah.
Like this one, when he's coming down the thing, it was like trying to get the pull focus right, and like, you know, as he's moving.
Before some nugget starts running past. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's like a woman I think that walks past and is like, "Oh, sorry, I'm in shot." Like, well, you're not supposed to shoot in these places, like. So, but it was because it was one shot. We were like, "Oh, sod it, man, just do it. Let's just see if it works." But luckily, it's weirdly managed to come out like.
Yeah, it's great.
On the beat and stuff, which is strange because we knew we had about 6 seconds or so per shot. Because the cartridge only lasts like a certain amount of time. So. But yeah, try and make it progressively more and more stupid.
It's clever. The track's nice too. I like the track.
Yeah, it's good, man. This is one of my favourite ones. It is actually.
That thing spinning around then reminds me of the Apple thing.
You'll recognise this one because it's basically where you run past at about 100 miles an hour every afternoon with your shirt off.
I know he caught me last week, like running down freezing.
I was on the bus, like going to Stratford, just seeing him gassing it down the street with his shirt off, leather in it. It's like
freezing.
But yeah, that was a fun one. This it was like it was basically like an afternoon, and it was all done. So it was one of those that's like super fast. You kind of hope it comes out, and luckily it did.
The title's really cool with the with the text.
Yeah, that was. I mean, again, because it's on Super 8, it was basically like got it up on a Mac screen and just shot the Mac screen for like 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like this in terms of like Super 8 films, it's pretty simple. But some of the ones that like people pull off with like dialogue and stuff, and it's all like synced up.
Yeah,
It's pretty amazing, like how they do that with one take and no idea whether it's worked.
Yeah.
and weirdness you get with a film, the quality of it, all the little crackles, the weird sort of like window that it's in. It's like it's so hard to try and replicate that in like After Effects. Like you can just feel like the crunchiness and the old at the edge of it.
Yeah, it's like I'm doing something at the moment actually for another thing I've got going at like work, and trying to get some grain into it to give it like a feel like in the grade, and give it a little bit of like, you know, that sort of cinematic quality is tricky when it's not on film. I think like I did another ad for the NHS which was all shot like a silent movie in black and white on 35mm.
I've seen
and they were like, I mean, again, like credit to them, they were like, because you could potentially shoot it and not even have an ad, so because it might not come out. But like, luckily, they were like, yeah, let's do it. We may as well do it because that's what we're trying to achieve visually. And yeah, that worked as well. But that was an interesting process.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's a nice crossover with that. I mean, you can see in the Archery Present stuff, the video, especially one for the hype beat. Lewis, can you pull that up? The Archery Presents.
Yeah,
nice.
let's do that.
So the one underneath, so there's 2 videos there, isn't there? Talk us through both.
So one is literally just to talk about the fact that Archery, this trainer brand, American trainer brand, basically they've been around in I think it was the 70s, but it had kind of died a death like a lot of brands at that time, and they basically wanted to revive it, bring it back. And yeah, this one was basically all about talking about the fact that, you know, like normally, I mean, I'm a sucker for trainer drops. It is what it is, but it's like kind of like going against that kind of fashion of like, you know, the trainer drop, like everyone sort of like crowds in the street, or like you never get it on Nike or whatever, and kind of rubbing against that a bit and being like, well, the drop's dead. You can just get these. It's easy. Do you know what I mean? So that was the simple kind of thought behind it.
I think the beautiful thing about these 2 projects is like with Wondering and this, like you can see the synergy between the 2. But obviously, I can imagine this one is edited, right?
Yeah. I think the top one, the Bob Lutz one, is all basically found footage.
Yeah, of course.
From archives and stuff. So it naturally has that kind of like cinematic, you know, like film quality to it. I think with this one was like a slightly different ball game because it was like ball game. No, it was like basically they had this night shoe called the Bob Lutz, and we were like, who the hell is Bob Lutz? Like, I have no idea who this is. Anyway, so like after a bit of digging, you realize that he was basically Stan Smith, who obviously has the famous Stan Smith Adidas trainer. He was his doubles partner, and it was like they won numerous like titles together, you know, like Grand Slams and what have you. So he's like, he never quite got the recognition that like Stan got, because like, you know, for God knows what reasons. But we thought that was kind of a funny idea to kind of like bring, you know, launch this shoe by reminding people about this guy that no one really knew who he was. So we were like, had this thought around, you know, I was working with this guy called Jesse, who's one of the CDs, and it was basically like, the thought was that, you know, it's the greatest sportsman the world has never known. So the whole premise of the ad was basically like showing this amazing sportsman, but not revealing his identity until right at the end, where you kind of reveal the shoe.
Hey, Lewis, can you see my comments in the live chat? I'm gonna kill you. Lewis, press play, please.
Yeah, that's the best. Yeah.
What does it take to be a legend? How about a forehand like an archer's bow and a backhand like a wrecking ball? How about top spinning, back spinning, head spinning? A slice that'll chop down a tree. How about 5 Grand Slams
Cup
doubles
finals.
titles, 10 Grand Slams finals,
Then it was
54
like
title wins
trying to add a
overall,
little bit of
5 Davis Cups.
comedy and
How about
humor
being one
in
of the
there, just to
strongest
give it a
U.S.
bit
players
of
of all time?
something
How
else
about
with the
nothing?
cartoons and things like that.
You probably haven't even heard his name, but no longer. The best sportsman the world has never known. Introducing Bob Lutz, the man, the legend, and now the shoe.
Yeah, nice. Have you got a pair?
I have, yeah. Actually, no, I don't have his ones annoyingly, but I've got some other ones, yeah, from
So
it.
that was that, and then so the second video is the release. Is this just for Hype Beast?
This was just for Hype Beast, yeah. So that first one actually, like, it didn't really have that much money. It got 4.5
I know
million
I've seen
on
before,
YouTube,
lads. Mad.
which was pretty mad. Like, I've never made anything that got that many like sort of organic views. Like, so that was pretty sick. That one launched during the US Open, I think it was. But yeah, this one was it was a Hype Beast kind of collaboration thing where I just wanted to talk about the fact that we were dropping this trainer, and I mean, it's kind of does what it says on the tin. It's trainers falling from the sky.
Go on, hit us, Grace. But 4.5 million views, like, that's nice, that, lad.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
That must feel a certain way,
What
everyone
happened to
viewing
the
your work,
good
you know?
old-fashioned test
Yeah.
of time?
The
Style
wobble's
never
nicer
going
when you
out.
drop and hit the floor.
Sneakers you wear to death. Theirs and yours. Shoes for people who get stuff done, not just people who get stuff. The drop is dead.
You know what I mean?
People of America, Autry has landed.
Yeah, it's like hit it with an 80s soundtrack. It's like it was
At the
fun.
moon landing.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird because I actually, like, you know, we'd written all this stuff or whatever. I was still chipping away, and I was actually on holiday when it got shot. I come back and it was finished. So I was like, sick.
Yeah, nice. Sick. I like them, lad. I'd rep them.
To be honest, they're pretty good. Like, I wasn't that sure about them when I first saw them, and then I've got a pair. I've been wearing them loads. Like, they're pretty comfy. They're good pair of, like, beaters, man.
Nice little pair of beaters, say no more. All right, great. I think the last one, I think this is one of my favorite pieces, but the condom that you did, I think this will be a nice one to finish with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that was basically, like, for a couple of years, like, me and my old partner Tom had been doing this kind of thing on the side for Secret 7, which was this, like, exhibition of, like, basically loads of artists would submit record covers. And over the years, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And there'd been, like, I think Anish Kapoor did one. There'd been, like, you know, David Shrigley doing them, and, you know, it got quite big. Anyway, so this was like the last one they were going to do. They decided to sort of, like, pack it in after this time. So we thought, oh, we've got to do something cool. I've forgotten the name of the band now. I think it was it was the Internet, and the track was called, like, Come Over. So basically what they do is, like, give the artists, like, 5 or 6 tracks to choose from, and then you generate, like, a kind of idea for a cover from that. So we'd chosen that one and just had this idea about, like, if you're coming over, bring protection. And then, yeah, just thought it'd be interesting to make the cover into a giant condom. So a bit like, this is, like, it actually looks pretty slick when it's photographed. I made this like in my kitchen. It's basically, I bought, like, this sticky back foil, and basically made the whole cover. So it was like a record cover inside with the record in, and then there's, like, a kind of, like, that kind of condom shape is actually just like a roll of clay, of air drying clay.
Wow.
It's, like, rolled round and then, you know, basically stuck together. And then I originally thought, like, oh, it'd be cool if we could vacuum pack it. But, like, no one's going to be allowing me to, like, vacuum pack this, like, one off. So yeah, the sticky foil, man. Who knew? And then I stuck the two together, so it made it look like the condom. And then, so, like, all the edges and things like that, that's all done with. It's basically, like, you know, like those, like, cake cutters that've got, like, little zigzags.
Yeah.
I, like, rolled it down the sides so you get the corners, and then trimmed them off with scissors. And then the texture on the side is actually a cheese grater.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, put the cheese grater on top, rub the back of the thing. Bearing in mind, I'd done, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 versions to see if I could get it right. And then this one came out pretty well. So yeah,
that's great.
That's
Like,
amazing, because we were questioning, is it a 3D render? Like, how was it made? But it's nice to get dirty with your hands and like actually create something and solve problem solve with your hands.
yeah,
out like that, like execution. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, fucking, it feels very Jeff Koons. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. I'm honestly like surprised how well it came out myself. I think it's like when I've done it, I was like, actually, this does look quite a lot like a condom. Like, so, but yeah, it got
scroll down a bit.
got exhibited at the kind of art show that they do, some posters and stuff. So there's like, there's like a gallery outside the O2. I forget the name of what the gallery is called, but they had like the full show there. So it was on show with all the other record covers. There's some wicked ones, man. Some people have made some really cool pieces.
You can go so far with that condom idea, especially with it being on a 7-inch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's a song by a guy called Bill, I think it's Bill Moose, like really old song. Sounds like it's from like the 60s, and it's all about him getting out this vinyl that he plays to women, and they enjoy the sound of his of the music that's on it, and it goes, and I'll whip out my big 10-inch record of the band that plays, or something like that. It's class.
Yeah, nice.
I think like that's something that, again, like doing the bits of art and stuff, it's always been something that's like interested me outside of the kind of day-to-day job of like working in advertising, because it's just fun, like making stuff like this. It's
yeah, bro.
It's a lot of, to be honest, you can, because sometimes in advertising it can just take so long to get stuff made. A year, 2 years sometimes to get a campaign out the door or whatever, for lots of different reasons. But I think there's something really rewarding about just like making something and just doing it and it being done and not like having 2 minutes to go back to what you said earlier, like it's like not having too many people involved, no like creative directors or anything like that. It's just pure you doing something that you think is funny or whatever. It's pretty satisfying when it it comes out quite nice.
You've got something finished in it, and I think I think it's really good, Liam. Do you know what I mean? Ideas don't need to just live when someone, like, you don't need a brief just to come up with an idea, say, or make an observation and constantly have to go on this troll. Do you know what I mean? I think taking what you do in a day-to-day and then being able to kind of like let that be driven through personal projects.
Yeah.
It's really nice, that, and I think where you like the duality that you've both got, you can see it shining through in both elements. You know what I mean? Like the thinking, and that, I think it's a thinking that's consistent through both, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's really inspiring for anyone listening to about that, because exactly what you just said a minute ago about getting. When I first got into the industry, when I was working for Turner Duckworth as a junior. I mean, you might be lucky to get 1 piece, 2 pieces through, if that, but not a lot of your shit sees the light of day, and that can fucking kill you. You just want. I want my mum to be able to go into the shop and pick some up that I've done, or or whatever it is. So I think getting that gratification from doing a personal project and looking for external, like you said, the record competition and stuff like that you can enter and things and get that validation from, I think it's great, lad. Like you say.
I think it's like super important to do stuff like that, just because I've had like a team coming into like who've just finished their degree or whatever, coming in to see me like at work and just giving them a bit of advice about going around and showing the book and stuff like that. And they kind of they were saying, so and so said this about that project, so said this about that project, and and maybe I'd say something different.
Yeah,
I think like there's a certain point of just do it and worry about it later. Like, just make the thing the way that you think it works. Take on board people's opinions if you feel like it makes the thing better. Because like sometimes you're going to go and see people who are just going to hate stuff, and some people at times you're going to go and see people that love it. Yeah. But sometimes you just kind of have to get to the point where you're just like, sod it, man. Just stick to your guns.
You have 100%.
What you like.
You've banged on about that throughout the whole conversation. I feel like that's the thing I've took the most, and it's like going back to that condom wrapper. Is like I could find a mock-up of a condom wrapper perhaps and stick my finger on there, but you want to make it how you want to make it. So if that means rolling up that circle of clay, putting that finding sticky foil, fucking pressing your cheese grater on top of it, chopping the edges with a little bakery cutter thing, like. If you know someone is going to go to levels to do that, and that's what's going to make the piece of work.
I think it's a good point. I think it's like it can be pretty daunting as well doing stuff like that, because like when you work in like a company or whatever, you've got loads of other people's opinions, and then somehow that filter allows you to think that the thing that you're going to make on the outside is going to be the best it can be. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got creative directors around you, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, there's actually something kind of daunting about just like doing something for yourself, making it and putting it out on the world, whether it like you guys are doing with this, like you know you've got like go, all right, well I'm going to do it, we'll just do it and let's see how it goes. Like, and I think sometimes like you can get a bit nervous about doing that because you're so used to like working in a way where you've got loads of opinions or whatever, but
yeah,
it is just really important to just do it, because like if you don't do it you'll never know whether it worked or whether it didn't. And I think that's like coming back around to like doing stuff like this, like the condom or whatever. Like for me, like I'm trying to do more of that now, because I think it's like for so long I've been a bit like, oh, should I, shouldn't I? You know, you can overthink it, and it's better to just do it than it is to not.
I think we can both relate to that one, Michael.
Absolutely.
I think to condense that, I mean, I think mine and Michael's heads are at now. It's like unapologetically just doing shit, you know, and not looking for people's opinions, but looking for people's perspectives that you respect. You know, you can get drowned in opinion, and it can fucking really take its toll on your mental. You know, you have too many people, it muddies the water. But if you ask about perspectives and rearrange the way you ask a certain question about a piece of work that you've done, then you might formulate different answers that might take you in different directions.
Exactly.
And going back to this podcast as well, like, you know, you look at that first episode we recorded with Nick, that was a year ago, it was in February last year. And it took a year till we found our feet and yeah, could be unapologetic and be like, fuck it. So people said to me like, oh, like I'd like to do a podcast, or yeah, I've seen your podcast, I've not got the confidence to do that. I'm like, you have no idea what mine and Christian's headspace has been like throughout this whole project. And we just got to a point where we're like, we've just got to go, lad, otherwise it's never going to happen.
Yeah,
and you're really like, expressing the importance of that even more, Liam. So yeah, it's great, man.
Yeah, I think it's super important.
Really nice, lad. Thank you very much, bro, for doing this. I think it's
no problem. Thanks for having me, boys.
Yeah, nice. And in the future, it'd be nice to. I said this to a few people recently, but obviously I know you got work up and coming. So maybe it's about like getting you on next time just for one project, so we can like really get into a deep dive of it and just talk about the one.
Definitely. I'm like, hopefully by the end of this year I'll have some fucking cool stuff to put. Some new stuff to put on.
I think you've already got some fucking cool stuff as well. So I think keep riding that momentum. I think the only way is up, lad, isn't it? You know.
Appreciate it, lads. Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. If you can just shut the lid if you want.
That's the coolest way to go.
Oh,
but we'll stay on for a minute, I think. But yeah, thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Yeah.
Nice one. Cheers, boys.
Cheers, thank you.
Ta-ra, bye.
I thought he was actually just going to go boom. We need to get someone to just do that soon. That was good. Really good.
That was really the first time I met Liam. It was a little bit. We got a little bit deeper with some of the previous ones. I'd like to know a little bit more about his. Like I don't know where he's from. Obviously, I can tell he's a Northerner. Everyone's a fucking Northerner on this show.
Yorkshireman, innit? Yeah, we didn't actually speak to him about that.
We just got into it, which is nice. It may be nice, but I'd love to know a little bit more about him. But yeah, I thought that was really good. It was super inspiring for me, so I can imagine it was for lots of other people.
Yeah, I think it's really good, man. And I think them crossovers too. And again, what I've took from that is like, I meant to say this at the end, but I had so much shit racing through my head. Yeah. Liam is another great example of building the portfolio he wants to build and to get the work that he wants to do, right? Whether it be his more artistic kind of pieces or whether it be the film stuff, you know, he's still he's not like narrowing it down to just being bogged down in advertising, say, sometimes with a project that he's got different creative endeavors.
How do you find this then? Because everyone's always telling you to like specialize, niche, and focus in one thing, but I think there is a place for that. But I love doing so many different things.
It depends what. Sorry to cut you, but it depends what. Because I know exactly what you're going to say, but it depends what. Like,
But what am I going to say?
You're going to say that jack of all trades thing that you said.
No. Of course not. And I've already said it. You only get it once, brother. What? Yeah, I wasn't saying I wasn't about to go into being like multidisciplinary and all this sort of stuff. But when you do look at his portfolio, I know it is like a uni project, that Pitchfork, but then you start seeing it with the film, and you see a few different things, and it just breaks up his portfolio probably compared to millions of advertisers.
Yeah, it becomes a bit of an anomaly, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? But I don't think with what he's doing, he's spreading himself thin, because each of them like help each other. Do you know what I mean? And it's again, it's back to the original conversation that we had. It's like, and I think we need to get out of that box and do more shit like that too, because instead of looking for a brief or like answering a brief, ideas live everywhere in it, and it's like it's stuff like Harriet's doing and people like that. You know, like the connections they're making, but and Andy, and you know what I mean. These kind of like these observations that still carry what we love in design, but carry a different emotional connection because it's not formulated by an external source to be the catalyst for why you've done that piece of work. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you're waiting for someone to be like, hey, bro, go and find a fucking whatever X, Y, and Z in this. It's like, no, you've made this connection. Like, how am I going to do it? How am I going to bring it to life? You know, in a way where it's not driven by anyone else's subjections of what it is. I mean, maybe we should just be honest. Let's just fuck design and let's just be artists, lad.
Well, I think this is obviously not going to say much now, but like the plans that we've got, like what we want to do, I think that's going to open up the doors for us to be more playful with the things that we do. And it's not necessarily all about branding a certain thing or creating a certain product. I think there's lots of fun things that can come with what we've got planned. But it is that I'm really fascinated by that, just pulling yourself away from being a designer and just being an artist.
And doing and fucking getting your hands dirty and fucking sticking things together. I watched a film last night called Tetris, and it's about how sorry, I'm going off on one here, but it was how Tetris was made back in the day, obviously in the fucking 60s or whenever the fuck it was they made it. I can't remember the dates. But, and the guy's just sat there on the table and he's just playing with these blocks, lad. Just playing with these blocks. And then all of a sudden he gets this moment and then he starts building on his computer. Do you know what I mean? It's like he's just sat there internally on his own. There's no brief that he's doing or anything like that. He's just playing, lad. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it sparks something, and then you take that little thing further, and then, I mean, not getting into the fuckery with all the madness that went on throughout the rest of the story and shit, but it is a mad story that if no one's seen that film, you should watch it.
I've not seen it. I'll check it out.
Sorry that I cut you off like 2 or 3 times then, but I was riding them all.
It's all right. It's quite hard. That's the only issue with the video, is because you're not in person. You do end up sort of cutting each other off a little bit. But it's all good, man. Just don't do it again.
Sorry. Okay, everyone. I think we're good, innit? I think we're good. I think we've run our mouth for a good amount of time there. Thank you very much for listening. Please share, subscribe, share and subscribe on all platforms. We're going to be on Spotify at some point. We've got this shit brewing. But mainly,
I feel like Spotify have just done some stuff where they're making it easier for podcasters. So I don't know if we can get the video on there, but hopefully we can.
No, we should be able to. I was going to note that Diary of a CEO and all that kind of stuff has got a video attached to it.
Oh, amazing. All right, that's good.
We can probably do that. So
I didn't know we were going to be on Spotify, but that's good to hear, man.
Yeah, nice, lad. I've been working in the background. So eventually going to be on Spotify, and watch out for the Mum's Gossips sections. Hopefully dropping, they'll probably come out Thursdays, won't they, or Fridays?
I guess it's just whenever shit comes out, right?
Yeah. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. We're getting hopefully better.
And we'll plug. We are getting better, but we forgot to plug Liam. Getting to plug himself, but we'll chuck all of his stuff in the description below. So yeah, I'll drop his Instagram and website and bits like that in there. But yeah, we are getting better, I think.
Yeah, sometimes it's like when you get so like finger. I mean, Liam's Instagram is Liam Alexander Campbell. If you wanted to hit him up there, and his website is liamcampbellcreative.co.uk. And as mentioned at the start, he's a senior creative director. Senior creative at Grey London. Probably will be a creative director at some point. A judge at ASF Festival, and he is in the top 25 directors list at Straight 8. Big up, Liam. Thank you very much for doing that today, and we will hopefully speak to you soon.
Nice one, bro.
Bye.
Peace.